am Crystal Joy.
I'm David Rosio.
And this is I'm Psychic.
I guess. Jeez.
Because apparently anybody
can be a psychic.
Mm-hmm. And we want to see if that is true facts or if it is bullshit.
I'm not going to hold you. I've been slacking on my psychic.
I mean, we're going to get there. Hi, if you've been listening through these consecutively, we said we're going to talk about something. This time we are not. If you look at the dates between the last podcast and this one, it's been a minute.
It has.
It has been a minute.
I'm sure we were talking about defenses or something.
No, I think it was like
Shielding.
Pitfalls. So we're going to have like a comeback episode. I don't even remember what the fuck our disclaimers are. We're just going to get into where the fuck have we been, and also why is the video not a video? Why are we only on audio? Well, bitch, if you listen to past episodes, we alluded to the fact that we are not happy and or fulfilled in life.
Those days in between from then to now have been pretty rough.
It's a number of things consecutively. It's like, oh, you're sick, and then I'm sick, and then we're sick, and then there's smoke outside, and then on top of just awful mental health and a whole bunch of other stuff and burnout and just fucking bullshit. So, okay, let's pick up. We were doing periodic check-in episodes.
Yeah.
It's been, for us, a minute now. We're going to do a check-in. Mental health and your well-being is a large part of psychic ability.
That's true.
Because, I mean, from our experiences so far, if psychic ability is not bullshit, you kind of have to, like, be a clear channel. Like, you're not this, like, magical fancy thing that can just do anything at any time. Like, you're a catalyst.
Not for nothing. They say that meditating, it brings about peace and stuff. But I like to think about meditating kind of like yoga. It's not quite the same, but it's something that you don't necessarily want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't right off the bat bring you peace. Because it's like, oh, I have to do that now. I have to do a thing. Mm-hmm. Now, continually doing it does help, which is why I said it's like yoga.
That's fair.
In that sense, once you are continuously doing it, you do feel peaceful, and it becomes part of your health routine. You need to work out your spirit just like you work out your body.
Yeah. And
your mental.
Our spirits and our minds have been ill, I guess.
Because of all the tumultuous things we've been dealing with, we can actually directly correlate it to how much psychic things we've been able to do, which is none.
Zero things. Like the last check-in episode we talked about, there was some really interesting, cool, fun stuff that I was taught that happened and this and that. And very soon after that, I stopped meditating for a variety of reasons and nothing. I ain't got shit. I ain't got nothing. Granted, I have not taken another class. I have not spoken to my mentor again, which that's a whole thing. Yeah, I'll get back to you. And then ghost. So...
That's tough.
The psychic ghosted me.
Not the psychic ghosting you.
Granted, I did say before this was like a work exchange. I was gonna help them with social media stuff, and I was like, okay, it's time for me to help you with that. And then the day of, they're like, oh hey, I have to not, I can't. And I'm like, okay,
I have to not do what I said I was going to do and do something else instead.
I'm gonna hit you back in a month. And I'm like, okay, bet. It's been a month and a half.
The old, I'll hit you back in a month.
I don't really care of all the things I'm not too concerned about. I'm just like, okay,
she was
whatever.
Very concerned about it.
I'm not.
It's like one of those things that you just don't have the mental capacity to be caring about.
No, I don't have the capacity for it.
Like in the grand scheme of things, you're like, fuck it.
I'm just like, okay, whatever,
like,
mate, fine. If they hit me back and are like, oh, this thing has happened and we're doing that again, I'd be like, bet, cool. If not, okay. Like,
yeah,
whatever. But with that, no, I have not given myself the opportunity to try psychic experiences. So that probably has not helped. But also, like, I stopped meditating. I guess we could talk about, like, what happens when you are doing that and then you stop. Like, muscle memory on a spiritual sense, almost. Like, you fall back into that. But first, I want to mention we're not doing video. Why?
The strain of trying to get everything set up, honestly, it's just too much with what's going on right now. What we can do is this, and we can do the audio portion of it.
That's also a big part. Yes, that's also a big part why it took us so long to come back, because we're just like, you gotta set up and we gotta do this. You gotta put on the. You gotta look like, cute. You gotta.
What capacity? Like, what capacity do we have?
None. We had none, and so it's been a minute.
And so the capacity now that we have is the ability to do this with audio, and that's why.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who are still around, who are checking in on the podcast and checking for updates on TikTok and
we love you and thank you
Instagram.
Thank you for staying.
Yes, though I do acknowledge that this was gonna definitely kind of grind growth on the podcast to a halt because I'm not going to be posting clips then on
Sure.
TikTok and on Instagram because I don't have the capacity to edit. I am a me. I think I am a me. Mario.
Yeah, you are a me.
It's just me doing this again because David, we've mentioned it before, is at a job, blah, blah, blah. If you're new, if you're listening to this podcast, it's only me. And so honestly, it is a full-time job and it was fine. I didn't mind doing it, but I hated it. I don't like it, it turns out, especially when I was used to doing creative, fun things. So I was not creatively fulfilled and I was like, ew, I hate this.
So just put a like big strain on you, trying to do something so consecutively and then not being able to be creatively fulfilled. It was
Yes.
making you depressed.
Yes, like I don't mind the tedious aspect of work, like at all. I can do it. You've seen it. But if there's no, I don't know, creative fun parts, and also David and I have been working from home together for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
With this new job, he's not at home, and so I am alone.
As much
And
as I wish I was.
I know we're working on it.
That's
we're working on
that's part of what my mental depression is
I
about.
know.
I'm stuck at this place and I don't want to be there.
I know. And so between that and between me being alone constantly, I found that I'm just like, I don't know, is this going to be a mental health episode? Like, we just kind of sat down and started to record. I don't feel like just diving into pitfalls after being gone for so long feels right. But I also don't want to overshare because Nunya. But what I can...
Am I oversharing?
No.
Okay.
No. Like, but I'm not going to sit here and get into like the depths of why my mental health is the way it is with, I don't know, all 150 of people who are still listening to this. But what I will say is it sucks, and I have ADHD that I've been self-managing since I was like a kid, and maladaptive daydreaming, bro. It's strong. It's been the strongest coping mechanism I have, which is counterintuitive, obviously, to psychic ability because you have to be extremely present.
Right.
And that is the exact opposite of that. It is being somewhere else, somehow else, someone else in imaginary land in your brain. And I think it's a coping mechanism because I'm lonely. I also think I'm not creatively fulfilled. So my brain's like, let's be creative.
Right.
And so I got medicine.
I think
So that should be better.
I think something that's an interesting topic, if you don't mind
Yeah, what's up?
switching gears a little bit, is talking about just how much mental dissociation and depression forces you to work that spiritual muscle.
Why?
Because if we're talking about spiritual wellness here, it becomes that much more difficult to meditate and do magic and
Yeah.
/ or psychic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you have a fever
Yeah.
and you're trying to lift weights. You can't
You
run.
know,
You can't work. Your body's sick.
you're so right. That is 1000% correct.
And so here we are trying to meditate. And I have tried.
I've tried to.
And you're mentally weakened. You have a fever mentally. You are having pneumonia. And
Yeah.
you cannot get that meditation weight up. And your mental health is sick. Your spirit is sick. And you're trying to meditate, a.k.a. lift these spiritual weights. And magic and psychic ability is the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, if they're
Spirituality.
spiritual activities
Manifesting.
that
Whatever.
they take energy and they take that
Yeah.
that strength.
There's a sense of wellness
Yeah.
that comes with it. That's
And
why
s-
spiritual, like properly, actually spiritual people, not the new age nonsense, are so peaceful. It makes sense.
So what do you do, right? Meditating is supposed to be restful, and it can be restful. But honestly, it's like getting a massage. You're not going to get a massage that whole time. When you're sick, you're just laying down. You're at a rest state. So what you would probably want to do mentally to be in a rest state is try to be present.
Ugh, I don't want to do that.
Doesn't that make
I
sense?
don't like the present.
It makes sense though, right? You don't want to think
Yes.
too much. You don't want to eat junk food.
Yes, okay, what you're saying makes sense, but also, I don't like the present. I don't want to. That's the whole issue is that I don't like the present.
Well,
I'm not a fan.
The whole thing is when you are thinking too much,
I know.
you are unhappy with your situation. You're letting your mind have to continuously work. Being present lets your mind not work as much.
I disagree with you.
This is why I say that's not the case, right? If you are present and you don't like the present necessarily, right? Because you are unhappy with your situation where you are. You're unhappy with your situation thinking about the past or thinking about the future of what could be. You're not in the present. In the present, you are actually, nothing's wrong. You are fine. You are sitting there. Nothing's going on. Nothing's bad. You have food. You have a house. Nothing's wrong. So if you are actually present in your mind and not thinking about future / or past events, then you would be okay. It's the thinking of the past stuff and not where you want to be is aka future thinking. That's why you're not okay.
Okay, well, first of all, okay, fine, yeah, you're right. But also, second of all, no.
No, because?
Because I said so.
Oh, okay.
But also, that's not what I was going to say. Like, you're right. But what I was going to say is that for me, it takes more effort as somebody with ADHD to be present. It's a very hard, purposeful thing to turn my mind off.
Yeah, that's why.
And so it's like, it's the easy thing. It's a restful thing. No, it's very, very hard. And so, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I joked about it earlier. I got on meds. Like, I was like, I am not functioning anymore. This is a problem. Help me. And my therapist was like, hey, girly, maybe meds? And I was like, ugh, because I didn't want to. But I was like, fine.
And we were so against medication.
I know.
No, I understand. It's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I just was so afraid of the side effects that I didn't want it.
I was afraid of the side effects, and like I have self-managed since I was 9.
Have we though? Have we though?
That's the same as like I was hit as a child, now I'm fine. It's like, are you, Steven? I don't think you are. And
as for being present with ADHD, like I think that's why stimming is so important. Like you'll have something like to do.
Oh, yeah.
So you have like physical touch. What does this feel like? What is
your brain busy?
Yeah, keeping your brain busy, but still being present.
It's still an effort though. That's mindfulness. And I agree with you. That does help a lot. But it's not the default setting, which is what I was talking about earlier. We'll get into the things of falling back into habits, like almost spiritual muscle memory.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what I said before, which is when I was doing all of these things, when I was okay and doing well and meditating frequently and having these very interesting things, I was constantly learning. I was constantly seeking new information because I was fascinated by it. And I was practicing, right? I was practicing all of these things, not perfectly or all the time, but I had a general routine, right? And that was retraining my brain out of this old mental wiring setup, right, that I had. And I stopped doing that, right? I guess before everything got fully installed. I don't know. It's like your body remembers and your spirit remembers your old ways very, very quickly. So the moment you stop trying and the moment you stop reaching for it, and reminding yourself of the new neural pathways and the new wiring that you're aiming to have, it's like, oh, okay, but this other one's easier. And then you fall back into like spiritual muscle memory of your old way of thinking.
It could be
it's
that.
Like it is that.
But what about like your surroundings? Like look at America, right? You have
America. We're going somewhere.
No, you have the food that's available to you here.
Okay.
And so it's really easy to not eat healthy here because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right? So it's an effort to eat healthy and treat your body well here because of the environment and what's sold here. You go overseas, you go somewhere else where food that is supposed to be the cheaper food, it's still healthy for you, and they're not trying to pump you full of chemicals and all this other stuff. Not only is your body leaner, you're healthier because your environment is healthy. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot easier to stay healthier in that mindset. However, we bring that to mentality here. America's not okay. So where we are is not okay. I mean, we got the fires, you got all these things with the crimes and the homeless people and
anti-trans bills,
anti-trans and all kinds of stuff going on.
I've stopped watching the news,
and I'm so not informed anymore when it comes to the news.
I am the Jon Snow of information right now.
I didn't even know the day of that the fires were coming.
No. Me neither.
I had a person talking to me was like, how did you not know that the fires were affecting the air quality? You have a mask with you all the time, and the one day that the fires are happening, you don't have a mask with you, which, by the way, I did not have a mask while those fires were here, and I just was raw dogging my lungs into this air.
Ugh.
So my chest hurts. So that's how just not informed.
I know. And then we did that for our mental health because it was like I was getting constantly beraged. Like beraged? Right. Beraged isn't a word, but it is now. Mark it down on the list. Beraged.
With the rage of
barraged,
news.
Berated, I don't know. With this shit, and it was fucking up my mental health. And I was like, I'm done. I can't handle my life, let alone what's going on outside. So,
like I was saying before, that, bringing it back full circle really quick, you have the environment that's just not helping your mental health. So it is really easy to go back into those neural pathways that are junk food because of where you are.
Of course, that's part of it too, your environment. But that's not really what I was saying. I was just talking about when something's a habit, you miss it. It takes 20 days to make a habit, right? So I did not like flossing my teeth for the longest time. I hated it because it hurt, made my gums bleed, whatever. And I was finally just like, I went to the dentist and they're like, hey, your jawbone is receding, you dumb bitch. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and I started flossing every day. And I went out of my way because I don't want to, I don't know, I lose my jaw. I don't know what was to happen, but I didn't like what he made it sound like. So I started flossing. And now when I don't floss, it's strange. Like,
I like your jawbone.
Thank you. So my point is, if you've made the new neural pathway, if you've made the habit of it enough, it doesn't really matter what your environment is like because you've made that your new normal.
I see.
And so because it was not my new normal yet, and especially something like spirituality where my whole 32, almost 33, fucking hell, years of life is like, this is how your brain works and this is why you think the way that you think, to rewire your brain or whatever, and also to rewire my spirit in a certain lens of being more receptive and understanding and curious and doing these things. It's like working out a new muscle I've never worked out before. Not only am I not used to working out at all, I've also never worked out that muscle. And so I stop, and I don't want to go back to the spirit gym. And when I do go back,
it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So
it's hard, guys.
I don't like it.
I don't want to do that.
So I guess that's what I was talking about before, was I stopped, and now it's really, really difficult to get back into it.
I thought you were doing meditation for a while, though. I would have thanked it.
You would have thanked it?
I would have thanked it was a habit already.
Like 6 months, but it wasn't every day. Like, I never did it on the weekends. I would skip a day sometimes.
So it has to be consistently for 20 days.
I mean, yes. Any habit consistently for 20 days, yes.
Even on the weekends.
That's
a habit. lot.
You floss your teeth on the weekends. Your teeth
Sure,
don't
I
take
do.
a break on the weekends.
Yep.
Stop that.
Okay.
You floss your fucking teeth right now. But yeah, so I think that's where I'm at with psychic ability currently. I was talking to my therapist, and she was just like, baby steps, kid. Like, getting back into it after any kind of burnout or any kind of like upset of your schedule, of your wellness at all, it's just going to require baby steps back to a normal place.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to do. And
I think you've been doing a good job.
This is a baby step. This is an audio that I'm not editing down into clips. And this podcast will not take off.
No, it's going to blow up, and I'm going to be able to come back home, and you'll be better too.
Yay. But lied. Also, I don't want to be known as a psychic person. I like it. I think it's fascinating. It's a huge part of my like spiritual understanding, and I think it's fun and interesting. But I'm so deeply creative, and a lot from what I've learned so far of the people I've spoken to who are doing this professionally and who are teaching this, the most psychic ones are incredibly, incredibly creative, which is such a strange phenomenon I've noticed. Maybe it's just anecdotal. I've like read a few charts for people who have bought the birth chart psychic analysis thing. They're all often rather creative, and the psychics I've talked to are all creative. It's just like, I feel kind of frustrated because it's like, why do I have such an inclination towards creating and creativity, right? I have such a draw towards it. It's what brightens me up and makes me excited. And yet my birth chart, for
tells
example,
you that you're going to be a psychic.
Tells me, like, this is where you get your money. This is where you get your success. My birth chart says you're a psychic, and you talk about that, and that's what you do. And I'm like, fuck you. I want to make art. Like, I don't want to
be like Bo Burnham.
I want to be like Bo Burnham so bad. I don't want to be a stand-up comedian who makes songs, but, like, art that says something, that means something, and is also funny at the same time. That's such a beautiful thing to be able to do.
I agree.
Say something and make something and have it also be hilarious.
That's my heart.
And profound. Hilarious and profound is where my heart's at.
Same.
And I don't, the idea of being the bitch who's psychic, I just don't like the flavor of it. And so I don't want to stop doing this because I do find it intrinsically very fun and interesting.
Yeah, we like the conversations as part of our life. This is like a huge part of our lives, but it's not fulfilling in that creative humor, saying something, creating this art piece sense. And I think both can coexist.
I think they can, but just like I haven't found that currently. At the moment, I'm broke. Like I want you to be home. I don't want to be, on a practical, I'm stuck in a capitalist hellscape sense. I want money. And if that's going to do it, then okay, I don't hate it. But also like, that's not where my heart and my dreams are.
Yeah.
So like, I guess it's just kind of like, I want to stomp my feet and pout like a 3-year-old and be like, that's not fair. Why can't I just, which brings us to the other interesting conversation. If you want to re-talk about that.
What's that?
We had, I think that was the conversation that we had that morning that I was reminded of. Fate. Remember?
Yes.
So, okay. This is an interesting conversation. One of the things that I've been mulling over during our break was I'm still in the process of my spiritual growth. I'm not a guru. David's not a guru. That's the disclaimer we always say at the beginning. We don't know what we're doing. Falling back into it. And as we're doing this is a discovery. This is a journey. And on some actual discovery and journey shit, often David and I will discuss things that we're learning and discovering and chew on our opinions of them. And this was a conversation that we had one morning.
It's about fate and what you have to do or end up doing.
Yes.
Despite your wants.
Yes. Or is that a thing at all? We're just going to, chew on and discuss that because I still don't know where I landed on it. But
we didn't. I didn't have enough time because I had to go to the job I don't like.
You had to leave. Yeah. So the thought that I was having, this is where I'm at. Coming out of a Christian environment, like I deconstructed, With that came a deconstruction of this understanding that God has a plan, right? In a weird way, spirituality was really helpful because I'm like, I have all of this choice and, it's not like the God choice where it's like you don't really have a choice and God has a plan that you're supposed to follow. And if you don't, bad news bears for you. Hell, silly girl.
It's not only hell, but like you would be redirected. Like look, Jonah wanted to not do whatever the hell.
Yeah, and it's like you have to go in this direction.
And a whale ate him, and brought him to where he was supposed to go.
Supposedly. But yes.
These are stories we were told.
Yeah, these are stories we were told. And so like I got out of that. And so one of the things I liked about spirituality and the understanding of it is like you are making choices to just grow and learn the human experience and understand. And that's it. Like you are growing, you are learning, and there is no such thing as fate or destiny. You are truly just having a human experience and you get to make of it whatever you want. And then I start getting into tarot cards, which almost cements that thought process. Because the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, oh, well, you make a choice and the tarot reading changes.
And there's so many different branches to
because it's infinite.
The tarot tells you.
Mm-hmm. And then we get into time, which if you're interested, before we started the psychic journey, there's like episodes before like prequel episodes they're labeled as, but we talked about time. I started learning about time. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Truly all time is happening all the time. That's when manifestation started getting into it. Like I'm slowly like giving you guys the baby steps of my spiritual journey.
We made a video, go watch it.
And I was like, okay, so then manifestation is just drawing that time closer to you and blah, 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 blah. And I'm getting into it. And then I start getting into astrology. And I find astrology super, on a practical sense, what's coming my way and how I think of it like a river. Yeah. I thought of it like a river. Like the energy's flowing in this direction. You can either get in the river, you can stay out of the river, you can get a boat, you can fight a kayak, you can build something like in Zelda, the new game.
But
like,
what you don't want to do is fight against the current.
Yeah, because you're just going to be going in the opposite direction. So to know the current and like the energy of what's happening is helpful, right? But it's not fate, right? And so I start getting into astrology to learn those things for myself. And I still have quite a bit to learn, I think, but I fucking know a lot at this point.
You do?
And the more that I learn, especially about specifically birth charts, the more I'm like, what the fuck? Like, can I really do anything?
Or does it go back to fate?
Can I really fucking do anything? And then you have the idea, which is hotly debated on spiritual TikTok, that you chose this.
Oh,
that
yeah,
your
like
soul chose this. It's
when you were like in spirit form.
Your higher self decided, I want this life, I want to learn these lessons, and they came down, which is the
when you were spirit fetus.
Your spirit fetus. The thing is, we'll get in that. Why that is problematic is probably a good episode, which we will save for another time.
Why is it problematic?
Spark notes.
I'm joking. You don't have to go into it.
I mean, it just.
We can talk about it next time.
It victimizes victims.
Ah, yeah.
You did this to yourself.
That's fucked.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing. We'll talk about it another time. But there's that process, and I hadn't considered that before. So
Sure.
I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm reincarnating until I get it together, or I feel like my soul felt like doing this or whatever. And you're like, okay, so I can do anything in general, but I'm here to learn this, and I can either go in that direction or not, which is in astrology, there's like this thing that looks like headphones north node. It's like, ideally you're heading in that direction,
Yeah.
but you don't have to,
Sure.
you know, but the more I learn about that, and the more I learned about your birth chart is the birth chart. I know you guys aren't astrology bitches, but like basically your rising sign changes and is so important to the time that you were born, because that's the time that you took your first breath.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's reasons why it is that, as far as like where the earth was in space at the given time. But that sets the layout of your chart, and it tells you where all of the houses of like parts of your life basically start in the chart. Anyway, so the rising sign will completely dictate how the planets are the planets, and the way they're arranged are the way they're arranged, but the rising sign is like where those things play out and where those themes are for your life. I've heard it spoken of as like that's the moment that your soul chose to be like, now.
So that everything was planned out ahead
So
of time.
so that the energies, because it's not like the planets are shooting down lasers that make this happen. It just correlates. Correlation is not causation, but it does correlate for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it does. And it's been done and analyzed for thousands and thousands of years in a number of different ways.
That's supposed to be on some like creator artists
I don't know. That's
from
that.
source type shit.
That's some as above, so below shit.
Yeah.
And that just is the way it is. And the more I learn about birth charts and the more I see and the more I'm like, okay, I'll talk to a person and I'll just be like, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? And unless they're being, you know, in denial, being egotistical and being in denial about what I'm saying, the answer is always yes.
Most of the time, it's yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
If
Unless
the
they're
only
denying
person
it.
that's ever done it is your boss, being like, no. I'm like, okay,
Denial.
sure. And then they turned out, you know what? I'm not going to talk shit about your boss right now. You're still working there.
Or unless. no.
Unless. So I look at my birth chart because I'm tired of shit going wrong for me. And I'm thinking, okay, fine. I'm just going to lean into it. Because some bitches on TikTok were just like, oh my God, you can find success if you just lean into these energies in your birth chart. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I am 32-year-old lady. I'm ready. I'm tired of things going wrong for me. Jenna Marbles had a fucking house in Calabasas by the time she was my age. Like, fuck me. I'm tired of this.
Yeah, you leaned into it.
And I leaned into it. And
Michael Jackson leaned.
I did. And now this is where I am. And I obviously can't do anything that I want. I'm like, can I do anything? I don't know. My words were, I'm standing in a graveyard if I can do anything. So let's try this. And it just feels wrong. And it just, my soul and my spirit get pulled back to that more creative thing. And so I talked to my mentor the first time we talked. And we talked about this. That's not what I wanted. But it wasn't, because I was looking for not just confirmation of like, yeah, this will go so well for you. It's just like, what about this is going to give me that fulfillment? What about this is going to tell me that this is worth it?
You were talking about the podcast, and you were just saying, tell me that this is going to be worth it. This is going to be...
tell me that I'll enjoy it. Like, tell me, like, this is what I want. I want XYZ, and I dictate, like, ideally where I want things to go for my life. And as far as this podcast is concerned, or this what I was working on, trying to be a psychic, is it worth it? And he goes, of course it's worth it. I'm like, okay, that's not... Does it work out?
You could tell that when he said, of course it's worth it. It's like every experience is worth it.
Yeah, you're like, shh, that's not the fuck. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. But I'm trying to be receptive.
What you were trying to say is this bringing me closer to what I want.
That.
To my goal.
To that, yes. And because I have, in my life, experienced not being brought to that goal by putting my whole heart and soul, what the girl boss hustle culture, toxic shit, and then
your thing.
Also healthy work-life balance. I've taken every approach and also never stopped, and I've gotten nothing but failure. So I'm doing something wrong. Help me get on the right path, basically. If this podcast isn't it, what is it? And that's when I got that answer that frustrated me. And that informs this thought of, can I really do anything? I was so mad. It was like, well, you can do anything that you want. As long as you are functioning in reciprocity and trying to tease your like want for knowledge and satiate your want to change things, like, you can bake if you want to. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like, I didn't say that. I tried to be receptive. Obviously, I talked about crying in the bathtub after, and I've been chewing on it. But like, since this time, I've been chewing on it, and I've also been mentally unwell, and a bunch of other stuff's been happening. I was at this place where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, did I choose this? Because my chart is annoyingly accurate in every other way. So I feel like I'm blocked and like I can't do what I want to do because this says do that. And every single fucking person I do talk to that's not that person, like any tarot card reader who's anonymous that has great reviews, any other person who's a psychic that I've spoken to, my own readings, they all are like, this goes well for you. You'll become a leader in your field. And I'm like,
But that's not what you want.
but that's not what I want. So and then I've fucking heard that if there's this thing in your soul that is undeniable, like you want it and you need it almost on an intrinsic level, it's there for a reason. That it's supposed to be there and you can't attain that. So then why do I feel that? Why do I feel like this is not it? Like, why do I feel this deep intrinsic urge to create a piece of media, not a podcast, this is fun, but like an art thing of a show or a movie or a book, I don't fucking care, that is, or a YouTube channel, that's what I thought I wanted to do, that is deep and impactful and human and extremely and extraordinarily funny and entertaining at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't escape the want to do that. So then if I can do fucking anything I want, then why the fuck has anything I want not fucking worked yet? And then is there fate? Did I choose this? Why did I choose this for myself? What am I missing? And I, scream up into the heavens like, I'm supposed to have spirit guides, right? Tell me what I'm missing. Help a bitch.
Have you heard
Help
anything?
me. Not in that regard.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I can say to that experience is that
we were just having such a nice conversation. So that just cut off. That part of the conversation was really nice. We're going to try to recover. We were talking about, I'm like, help me. Did they help? I don't know. And you were talking about what was on your little paper.
I just said that it's symmetrical to a lot of the time. This river talk, the faith river talk, is symmetrical to Christ. God's plan
you were
for
talking about God's plan. Did that cut off from God's plan?
Yeah.
Oh, we had such a nice conversation after that. Fuck.
I'll try to summarize it right now. Basically, such a pain.
So we were planning on talking about it. It just came up. So you said to me,
it's symmetrical with
it parallels.
The parallel, spiritual
God's
talk,
plan.
spiritual talk, spiritual TikTok.
As far as this, like, you chose this, it's supposed to go this way, is parallel to God's plan. And I said, oh my God, yeah, you're so right.
And I said, the only thing that you can, I said more, but the only thing you can really, that makes sense to me when it comes to God's plan is,
quote unquote,
how I'm, or the path you're supposed to walk based on your birth chart, is you have this inner feeling inside of you, this burns.
Oh, that we were talking about, this urge.
This urge to do what you're passionate about. And if you try to do other things, you literally just can't be well and do them. You get depressed, you get sick. I'm like, I'm so depressed right now because I'm doing something that is not creative and my soul doesn't yearn for so much that I've been sick more than I've ever been sick in my whole life. Consecutively.
And it started the moment you walked into that door.
The minute I started doing this job.
Yeah. You're sick right now.
And I'm sick right now. So basically, you can do something else, but it just, your soul doesn't stop burning and yearning for these things. You don't feel fulfilled until you are feeling this creative desire. And that
or whatever that desire is for you.
That's that fate in you.
Ingrained in you?
Ingrained in you.
Yeah,
Not necessarily sticking to just...
And that's when I said, but what about the birth chart?
And I said...
What did you said?
I think I was saying if birth chart is when you were born... And I have no basis for this, so don't come for me on this one. But if you go somewhere else, aka your geography lines, your stars are different then.
Well, I mean, are you talking about relocation charts?
Yeah, relocation charts.
Okay.
To combat this birth chart of where you were born and how it all aligned during that. And
you're talking about your astrocartography lines?
Astrocartography lines.
Okay.
And so that can still surmise some of what you're doing with your birth chart.
Like you're still choosing to do something?
Yeah, but it changes your setup in a sense.
Yeah. Somewhat. You still have your birth chart is always your birth chart.
Of course. I know that.
But, okay. That makes sense. We actually didn't get to that part of the conversation.
No, we didn't.
That's new ground. But I guess I had urged with David. I was like, yes, from a kid, I do know exactly what you mean about that urge because I felt that since I was a kid. That's what I was saying. Am I just an egotistical bitch? Am I stubborn? Am I dramatic? Am I just like digging my heels in the sand like a fucking 3-year-old not wanting to let this go because that's just not what I want because I'm just so self-absorbed. And I think back to being like fucking 7 or something. I thought the idea of just doing nothing
Mm-hmm.
and being a mom, and like my mom, God, they wanted me to be a fucking kindergarten teacher so bad, and I didn't. At 7, it made no sense. And I was just like, ugh, fucking kill me. I remember thinking at 14 that if that's me, I'm a failure. And like this, like my soul, when I think about not doing that,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm on fire, screaming, crying, throwing up, and like, I think I said I'm inside of a trash bag like a raccoon. Like that, that's how it makes me feel to not do
Yeah,
that.
and that's why I said that is your quote unquote fate
That would be fate for
talking for you.
then.
But it's within you, so it's your own desire to want that.
Yeah.
And that's
But then why do I keep coming up with these blockages? Like, oh, that's what you were talking about.
I was talking about.
You were talking about, I was like, okay, so that's why you're going to have to change. You have to change the lessons.
Yeah,
you start
so
talking about the lessons.
I talk about it in love, and I talked about it in
He
terms
talks
of life
about
lessons.
how if there is a fate, it's the lessons that you learn.
That's what you chose to learn. You
You-
need to learn these lessons, and no
You're-
matter where you go,
if
even
you
if you're
don't-
in New York and you're dealing with the lesson here, if you don't learn your lesson, you can go across the world. You're still gonna run back into that lesson because you need to learn that, or else
Yeah.
it's gonna keep coming up in your life. The patterns
Yeah.
won't change,
And you have the freedom to do it or not do it, but it's still
but
gonna
it'll
have
come
it.
back up because you haven't learned it.
Yes.
But that's not
Yes.
your sole goal. Your goal, what you want to do with your life,
that urge that you can't
urge
deny.
that you can't deny.
And if there is a fate, then there is that. And then I said, what about the birth charts? And that's where that.
And that's
that,
why I said about the moving to try and change.
But we hadn't, and that's what we hadn't touched on yet.
Right.
People are not all versed in. This is not an astrology podcast. This
No,
is
I
a
know.
spiritual, psychic podcast. And they don't know what astrocartography is or relocation charts or anything like that. Spark notes, I guess. Your birth chart can be on a map, and it can tell you different types of experiences that you'll have in those places, and it's eerily and weirdly accurate.
Yeah.
From what I've learned so far and what I've observed in a lot of random people's charts. And also there's something called a relocation chart, where if you move to a new location or go to a new location, the experiences that you will have there will be different. Like it is your birth chart, but it's like in a different house system. Anyway,
So much for not looking at it through a just astrology / magical lens. So much for trying to look at it like objectively.
What do you mean?
This podcast is supposed to have.
Oh, I mean, I'm talking about my experiences. These are my experiences. These are things that I've learned, and these are things that I've discovered since then. It's like, oh, I'm objective. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying like this is true. This is a thing that you can do. You can see if it's true for yourself. I have found it to be true so far for these reasons.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know how or why. If somebody knows, fucking let me know. But that's what I've experienced so far. This whole thing is what I've experienced so far, and what's bullshit and what's not. And so far, that's just weirdly accurate. Like, people who aren't into it, I'll be like, did you experience something like this in this location? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, because it's the line on your chart. Why? I don't know, but it is. And that's what David's saying, that you can kind of take control of that and move and change your situation and your setup. That's what you were saying.
That's exactly what I was saying.
And in that regard, sure. But I'm still, I guess, brought back to that frustration of what my one-time mentor said was that you can do anything you want.
So, okay. So speaking on that, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
And I feel like, no, I can't.
But
And I
those-
want to scream. Like, I'm tired of that. Because when
It's true within the sentiments. So, like, you can do whatever you want, aka whatever your soul wants you to do. You have a burning desire for it, go for it, because you're not going to be happy doing anything else. So, you can do that. Whatever you want would be what you want. Mm-hmm. So, you're going for that. Mm-hmm. And then your desire to help is going to help push you to keep doing what it is that you're seeking to do. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, I haven't been successful. Well, there's lessons that you needed to learn, yes. Does that mean you have to stop doing that?
Is that true? Like, like, yes, but also is that just like a thing that we tell ourselves to justify why we failed?
Check it out.
You know?
It could be. But even if I've learned from this experience of being in this other place that I hate, even if that's not the case, even if it's just me being stubborn, literally getting sick, literally dying, not doing what I love.
Yeah.
Is that me being dramatic? Perhaps. But I don't like being sick. I don't know about you.
No.
If it doesn't bring me happiness, then why am I doing it? What's the point?
To not die.
Okay.
But I'm dying anyway.
But I'm dying anyway.
Yeah. To not die in a practical sense, like we have our rent paid and we're not starving and we're not homeless, hooray. But also,
But then what?
yeah.
Like, there's more to life.
I know. And I know for some people are here to just vibe. And
Well,
I know that that's the case, and that's totally great.
Maybe they don't have that burning for whatever it is, or maybe their burning is to do
is to do nothing
office
and
work.
whatever,
I
and
don't
that's
know.
cool. I don't know. All I know is that for me, it's that, and all this to say, this isn't us saying that we're not going to do this podcast anymore. We're going to keep doing the podcast. I find value in it. I think it's an interesting, fun conversation. I would have loved to have seen somebody try to do psychic stuff and talk about it and see what happens. I think it's interesting, and I also do want to still do that, but I'm also haven't been okay. And like, if I'm trying to learn how to do that, and have a fever, like you said earlier, spiritually, then I have to take care of that. And for right now, taking care of that is figuring out what the fuck I'm going to do next and getting medication from my psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Which, big fan, by the way.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Oh, big fan. David hasn't gotten any yet. He's just now trying to get a psychiatrist. Anyway, I'm on like day 5 of happy pills, and I'm feeling great.
All I know is that nothing douses that burning.
Nope.
Like doing creative work.
No, dude. We sat down that one day and we started spitballing on something that it's just an idea that I thought would be fun. And then our friend was like, that is a great idea. Please work on that. I'm excited for you. And we were like, you know what? Let's just talk about that. And I felt alive. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I felt bright. I was like, oh, I've missed this so much.
It's like looking at food when you're hungry and you know you're going for it. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, you're craving some really good karaage chicken. specifically. And you're like, yeah, let's order that. You're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that's
Actions
great.
towards doing that and then getting it.
Yes, it is kind of like that.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's why they call it you're hungry for it.
Oh.
I just said that shit.
Oh.
Okay, I don't even know if that's true. Snaps.
That's good. I don't even know if that's true either, but
I don't.
That's great.
Makes sense to my head though.
It makes sense.
All right.
It makes a lot of sense. But so, is there fate? Who the fuck knows? Still figuring that out. Did we choose this? Maybe, kid. I don't know. But I know that I can't not do creative work. And so to make room for creative work, or trying to come up with something else that is creative in the same thread, because I do find this all very interesting, and I do find the spiritual aspect of life worth exploring. We're probably going to be sticking to audio only for a little while. Eventually, maybe we can hire out help or something. Right now, we don't have the means for that. So it's just going to be me, which means it's just going to be audio, so that I have the brain capacity to do something that I'm actually passionate about as far as creativity goes. And we can just share with whoever is still listening to this.
Yeah. But you help us help you by getting this popular enough to make me be able to come home.
How do you even do that as a podcast?
I don't know, but you guys know how to do it. So
share, subscribe, it's a podcast. Also, how are people discovering this? Is it like a podcast discovery? You know what's wild? I don't listen to podcasts.
Our rampant thoughts are coming out.
I don't listen to podcasts. So I find because I don't listen to podcasts, I don't know how that works.
Well, you guys do what you do. Make this popular enough so that I can come home and you'll get a lot more.
Well, I have other plans. I have other
things.
plans and I have things that I'm interested in. It's just a matter of getting my baby steps back up so that I can run again now that I have help in floaties.
Now that you have floaties.
Now that I have floaties. The floaties are medication, so I'm not drowning. I can try to figure it out. And that's where we've been. That's our update, psychic ability wise.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week and every week until probably the holidays with I guess picking up where we left off last time.
If you're looking for updates, please follow us on Instagram or Twitter at I'm Psychic, I guess.
And we also update this podcast weekly. Well, from now on, we will be likely uploading this podcast weekly on any podcast listening platform of your choice. That's obviously called I'm Psychic, I guess. You got this far.
And if you want any personal updates from us, you could follow us over at The Doodles. That's DOOTLEZ.
That's at the DOOTLEZ. That's just our personals where we're doing stuff, which not really because we've been sad. Anyway, sometimes I show pictures of my hair.
We'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
We'll talk to you guys next week. We'll pick back up.
Talk to you guys in the next one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.